welcome to The Hungry Bachelor. My name is Greg. I'm your host for the show. And this week we've got a real treat. Last week we did stuffed mushrooms for our premiere episode. This week we're going to take an eye of round steak because, hey, it's what we can afford when we're bachelors. We're going to give it a little bit of a treatment, and we're going to make it look and taste like filet mignon. Now, important to remember, filet mignon comes from the tenderloin. It's from the very tip. It's a very tender cut of beef. This will be tougher than filet mignon, but it will have all the flavor. So stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to make a Hungry Bachelor's filet mignon. So this is our eye of round. It's, as I said, it's not the most tender cut of beef, but it's a satisfying size. It has all the flavor that you're going to find in pretty much any other cut of beef, and when seasoned appropriately, you can get a lot out of it. Now, the important thing to remember when doing this is the bacon that we're going to be wrapping around it, and you can just use any bacon. I'm using, the cheap and cheerful $4.97 for 500 grams, so a little bit better than a pound for $5. Less costly than the maple leaf, but it's a nice smoked bacon, so pretty good. Anyway, when you're wrapping your cut with the bacon, you're gonna need some toothpicks. You're gonna need some toothpicks to hold it on there. I recommend have at least 4, 6 to 8. Any more than that, you're going to be chewing around a lot of toothpick. The toothpick is going to be coming out once we're actually done cooking the meat, but the toothpicks are necessary to hold the bacon in place while the meat itself cooks. So without any further ado, let's get started. Alright, so we've got our bacon unwrapped here, and as you can see, this is a slightly fattier bacon. So when we're cooking it, we can expect a lot of spatter and a lot of flaring. But we're not going to be cooking it on a barbecue, so flaring isn't really a deal. Anyway, we're going to be doing here, pull the bacon out. We're going to drape it around. As you can see, we're going to need a few pieces here. We're going to wrap it around snug as can be to our cut of beef, because we're going to sort of just halo our beef with our bacon. Should be able to get by with 2 strips here. Yeah, looks like two will be enough. Now, just remember the meatitarian's first rule. Bacon makes everything better. As I said, the meat is a little bit tougher with an eye of round as opposed to the tenderloin that filet mignon is typically made from. Funny thing, filet mignon has actually several names, depends on where you are in the world, what it's called. In France, it is filet de boeuf. But I am not in France. We are not in France. We are here in Canada. In Canada, if you go to Quebec or other French-speaking parts of Canada, filet mignon is the name. If you're in the UK, it'll be called a medallion, and the cut would actually be much smaller than this. But gives you an idea. This is a cut. This is a dish that is fairly popular the world over. But we put our toothpicks in, and the toothpicks, again, they're there to hold the bacon in place, just like that. We're going to rub, get that seasoning into the meat itself. We want to get it right in there. We're going to flip it over, and we're going to do the same to the other side. Now this is my mother's homemade seasoning. You will not find this particular blend in stores. However, if I get enough requests, I'm pretty sure I can convince my mother to share the recipe. Otherwise, McCormick's or Lowry's seasoned salt will do very, very nicely. But that is just a little bit of seasoning here. And we're going to use a little bit of Worcestershire in the fry pan when we're cooking it. But you want to remember, when you're doing actual proper filet mignon, it's done very dry. But we're doing a bachelor's filet mignon, a very simple, you can use any cut of beef, and we are going to add a little bit of Worcester just to keep the beef nice and moist. To go along with our Hungry Bachelor filet mignon, we're going to be making some brown rice. I had originally intended to do sauteed mushrooms. Unfortunately, I couldn't find them at the grocery store. But I have brown rice on hand, some vegetables, so we're going to do a little bit of a beef fried rice type deal. You can get the beef flavor by dropping 1 beef bouillon cube into your water. Now when you're doing brown rice, it is 3 to 1. So if you're doing a half cup of rice, you're going to use a cup and a half of water. Otherwise, the rice comes out a little bit stiff. It's a little bit al dente. So we've got the water boiling already here. I've already dropped the bouillon cube in. So what we're going to do here is we're going to drop in our rice. We're going to give it a quick stir. Now it is important when you're using these sorts of non-stick pans, do not use metal implements. They will scratch them to kingdom come. Now, we got our rice added. We're going to put the lid back on. We're going to let that come to a boil for a couple of minutes, and then we'll be adding our vegetables. In the meantime, we're going to get to our steak. So we're just about ready here to put our steak on, and we want to make sure the pan's already nice and hot. And the one way to make sure a pan is hot enough is to sprinkle a bit of water in. If you see the water doesn't spread out, if it immediately sizzles away to nothing, it means your pan is hot and ready to go. So with that in mind, we're going to bring over our delicious looking steak here, wrapped in bacon, lovingly seasoned. We're going to set it in our frying pan and listen to the sizzle. As I mentioned, we are going to add a little bit of Worcestershire because this is not the most tender cut of beef. Worcestershire is a little bit acidic. It helps soften the meat. Also adds a lovely smoky flavor. Now we're only going to give this a few minutes on each side. We don't want to overcook the meat. We want it to be just medium rare, which means you're going to be able to press on it like that, and that's about what it would feel like, is that spot between your index finger and your thumb. Well done is like that. Medium rare is like that. Relaxed hand, that's rare. Now, as I said, the bacon is going to give off grease. It's going to spatter. If you're not wearing a shirt and you're standing by the frying pan, go put a shirt on. You'll thank yourself for that later. Now, you're going to get some steam build up underneath the cut, and you're going to get some curling in the meat. That's completely normal. And it's once it starts to curl up like this, that's when it's time to flip it. Now, this is going to be a little bit tricky, but totally worth it. You'll notice that the bacon is partially cooked here. The bacon is the reason it's curling the way it is. Bacon, as you know, curls when it cooks. It shrinks. Just push your bacon down. Press your beef down. And this is almost done. This only takes about 5 minutes per side for it to be properly cooked. The rice actually takes much longer. Now I've just turned off the heat underneath the frying pan, and I'm going to let the actual heat that's in the metal finish the cooking while we're waiting on our rice to finish here. The rice itself, you should start at about 15 to 20 minutes before the beef goes into the pan. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting about 15 to 20 minutes for your side to be ready when you're sitting down to eat your entree. Now, the last thing you're going to do before eating is, of course, take out your toothpicks. Because while they help in cooking, toothpicks, I find, are not necessarily good for digestion. So we're going to just gently pull them out, like so, one at a time. There we go, all 6 toothpicks and 1 Hungry Bachelor Filet Mignon. Ready for its side, and there is dinner. So there it is, folks. The Hungry Man Filet Mignon with beef fried rice without frying. Really simple recipe. Just some beef, just a decent cut of beef, some bacon, some brown rice, frozen mixed veg, and a beef bouillon cube. It's all you need to make dinner. It's really simple. It just takes a little bit of planning, a little bit of prep, and you too can eat well, just like the Hungry Bachelor. Until next time, bon appetit.